The American dream is weird when you think about it. It's kind of like religion. Everybody has a slightly different idea of what it is, but we all seem to think we're right on track. Hunter S. Thompson was a journalist and author in the 1970s. He was famous for telling a different story than everyone else. He never wrote a romance novel or covered the local dog show. He looked for stories where nobody else would. In his most famous piece, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, he tells the true story of when himself and his attorney took the trip to Las Vegas, and it puts a slightly different slant on the classic American dream. We were somewhere on the edge of the desert when the drugs began to take hold. I remember saying something like, "I feel a bit lightheaded. Maybe you should drive." And suddenly there was a terrible roar all around us, and the sky was full of what looked like huge bats, all swooping and screeching and diving around the car, which was going about 100 miles an hour with the top down to Las Vegas. And a voice was screaming, "Holy Jesus, what are these goddamn animals?" Then it was quiet again. My attorney had taken his shirt off and was pouring beer on his chest to facilitate the tanning process. "What the hell are you yelling about?" he muttered. "Never mind," I said. "It's your turn to drive." I hit the brakes and aimed the great red shark towards the shoulder of the highway. No point mentioning those bats, I thought. The poor bastard would see them soon enough. It was almost noon and we still had more than 100 miles to go. They would be tough miles. Very soon I knew we would both be completely twisted. But there was no going back and no time to rest. We would have to ride it out. The editors had given me $300 in cash, most of which was already spent on extremely dangerous drugs. The trunk of the car looked like a mobile police narcotics lab. We had 2 bags of grass, 75 pellets of mescaline, 5 sheets of high-powered acid, a salt shaker half full of cocaine, and a whole galaxy of multicolored uppers, downers, screamers, laughers, and also a quart of tequila, a quart of rum, a case of Budweiser, and a pint of raw ether. All this had been rounded up the night before in a frenzy of high-speed driving all over Los Angeles County. We picked up everything we could get our hands on. Not that we needed all that for the trip, but once you get locked into a drug collection, the tendency is to push it as far as you can. The only thing that really worried me was the ether. There's nothing in the world more helpless and irresponsible and depraved than a man in the depths of an ether bench. And I knew we'd get into that rotten stuff pretty soon, probably at the next gas station. We had sampled almost everything else, and now, yes, it was time for a long snort of ether, and then do the next 100 miles in a horrible, slobbering sort of spastic stupor. Man, this is the way to travel. My attorney leaned over to turn up the volume on the radio, humming along with the rhythm section, kind of moaning the words. "One toke over the line, sweet Jesus, one toke over the line." Thompson's talent lied in his ability to turn anything into a story. In the passage, the only thing that really happened was 2 guys on drugs switch seats in a car. But somehow, it managed to tell their whole story. Wasted off their ass, driving 100 miles an hour down the highway on the way to Las Vegas. Their personalized version of the American dream.